I played TDS while using every single tower. Each round, I have to completely switch my loadout, and I can't use the same tower twice. So my goal is to use every tower I have. The first loadout I brought had farm, meaning this was the only time I could use it. So I paired it with two very expensive towers in turret and ranger. My plan was pretty simple, as it worked on getting 8 level 3 farms and defended with gold soldier and sniper. This was probably the most normal out of all my runs. I got my first turret on wave 14, upgrading it to level 3 a few waves later, and I balanced placing more level 3 turrets and placing a few rangers. On wave 20 the Fallen spawn. They move very quickly and have decent health. They'll be a pretty big problem for some of the later runs, but since I had some strong towers here, I was able to kill them. From there I continued placing turrets and forgot they had a placement limit of 5, but I hadn't farmed as well as I should have, and with wave 30 approaching I could only get 1 max turret, and when the tank came I knew it would be a problem. But I hoped with 5 turrets and 2 rangers I would be able to kill it, and I wasn't. I lost the first run on wave 30. The next loadout was mainly focused on aerial towers and was not very good, especially considering that since I'd already used farm, in this and all future runs, it would be a major problem to actually get enough money for expensive upgrades. I went to Crossroads trying to place a good variety of towers. Mortar and Shotgunner are both underwhelming, but the two vehicles were both decent, and if not great, I was doing okay. However, the loadout had one major flaw which I had completely overlooked. I only had 2 towers with hidden detection, and I only had 1 placed, which wasn't even upgraded. This led to a very embarrassing loss on wave 13, so moving into the next game I was determined not to make the same mistake. This was a pretty standard loadout with a lot of basic DPS towers like Engineer, Gold Crook Boss, and Paintballer. I tried placing everything to cover a variety of options, but I honestly think this was a mistake, and I should have just focused on Golden Crook Boss, because all the other towers are pretty bad. Even Engineer isn't very good until its later levels. In wave 13, I didn't have much power to deal with the hiddens, and ended up taking some damage. But with all the money I'd wasted on Paintballer and Demo Man, I once again leaked some Shadow Zombies in wave 15, and things only continued to spiral downhill as I got 4 abnormal bosses out of mysteries. This forced me to quickly place some Crook bosses at the back, letting me survive with a clean 1 HP. But with even more bosses spawning, the run was finally ended on wave 19. The fourth loadout seemed promising, mainly because of Sledger, a tower I used to rate lowly, but has recently seemed pretty solid. Coupled with a Militant and Pyromancer, the early game went very well. Military Base was also good, as a level 2 can handle most of the zombies for the first 20 or so waves. But there was one problem, which was that I didn't really have any DPS focused tower. The final slot was taken by Rocketeer, a honestly horrible tower with less than 10 DPS. As more and more abnormal bosses spawned from mysteries, my militants just weren't doing enough DPS, and I was really only being carried by the military bases. I got a second Sledger for the Fallens in wave 20, but still had to rely on trucks to actually kill them. And for the following waves, the power creep became very apparent, and each wave I struggled more and more, until a shadow boss ran through, ending the run in wave 24. With only 3 loadouts left, the next one was probably the worst of the whole challenge, containing Freezer, often said to be the worst tower in the game, and some very lackluster DPS towers, with really the only powerful tower being Executioner, which unfortunately is also extremely expensive. I really just placed towers at random, although I did try to focus on electroshockers and freezers, to stall zombies as long as possible. This paired somewhat well with Executioner's bouncing axe ability, but still the DPS just wasn't there, and I lost to Fallens in wave 22. Penultimate loadout was one I had been saving: 3 event towers, Accelerator, and the supported commander. I've always thought Archer is a very underrated tower, with decent DPS and its arrow piercing ability. By saving enough to get to level 5 early, it easily kills most early zombies. I also upgraded a Toxic Gunner for its slowing effect, and coupled it with a commander for the buff. Archer soloed both the hiddens and bosses, and on wave 16 I placed an Accelerator, which was a mistake, as when the Fallens came, Accelerator's charge of time came back to bite me, with its range being far too small, and I realized I should have gotten another Archer. I tried to save the run with a Gladiator, but it was futile, and I lost in wave 21. Out of all the runs, I think this was the one I should have done a lot better with. Finally, there was only 1 loadout left, but since I'm missing a few event towers, I ended up only having 3 towers. I had known this beforehand, so I'd saved the towers I thought would give me the best chance to triumph, in DJ and Gold Scout and Minigunner. I placed the DJ first in combination with 3 Gold Scouts for early defense, before getting the Golden Minigunner in wave 14. I balanced upgrading all 3 towers for a bit, and also started to regret choosing the map Cyber City, as the placements are just very awkward, and I genuinely think if I picked a better map, I could have gone much farther. But as it was, I ended up losing to the Fallens once again, as Minigunner's range just was not big enough. So overall, I didn't win once, but it was interesting to try out a lot of towers I normally don't use. So yeah, subscribe if you want.